And welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO at Thought Leadership Leverage, and you're joining us on the podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Today, my guest is Michael Wenderoth, and Michael is a coach. Michael is an author. Michael is a speaker. Michael's lots of things. So without further ado, Michael, give us a quick snapshot of Michael World.
Sure, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm an executive coach, and I work one-on-one with leaders and executive teams, particularly around the area around ethically leveraging power and politics to get things done. And I think power and politics are an area that most people shy away with, but they're absolutely the critical ingredients that you need as you're rising in the ranks and to be very effective.
The three words that are usually not in the same sentence, which are ethical, leverage, and politics. So I think what's interesting is they actually exist in every organization, right? But maybe we talk about it, maybe we don't. So what is unique about your perspective in terms of that ethically leveraging the power and the politics? I can get with the unethical, but how does that converge?
Yeah, so I mean, it is there like the air we breathe. And most people don't want to talk about it because, power, politics, you use leverage. It's got all these negative associations. And it has those negative associations because we see many leaders, right? The examples of power amplified by the popular press, that power and politics are evil things to suppress, to destroy, that narcissists use. When you really decompress this, right? Power is nothing more than a force. And if we want to get things done, I mean, more good people, frankly, Peter, are on the sidelines, right?
Right.
A lot of good people who should be in leadership positions, because they have this aversion to power, the associations of it, they're frankly on the sidelines. They're not making an impact.
So stay there for a minute. Stay there for a minute, because I think that's, it's 100% true. And I think in the world that we have moved into or are moving into, whatever, where hybrid will probably be the default. I can't see the future, but I think it's fairly obvious, at least from where I sit, that the default is not Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, going to the office every day for most people, most of the time, right? So in a hybrid world, right, I think there's always been a population that said, I don't want to get involved in the power. I don't want to get involved in the politics. I'm just going to do good work and it will be recognized in rainbows and unicorns. And not that that's not true, but it's not as true as we'd like it to believe, right? So
I would say it's not true at all.
Right. Okay. Well,
you need hard work and talent, to some degree, but there's plenty who rise in that. And that if you think about power and influence in politics, it is the differentiator that can help you even realize many of the things that you want to realize.
Right. And I think that the complexity or the compounding of the situation is, if the only time I see my boss, my teammate, my colleagues, or if I'm in a matrix org, is on a Zoom call, right? There's not all those other opportunities, the hallway time, the random interactions, the lunch, the cocktails, like whatever. How do people that might have struggled with this before, or you see them, is it a bigger struggle now, or how do you accomplish those objectives?
I think this is a great question, and it's very interesting as we went into COVID and lockdowns, and we were forced to interact through those mediums. You kind of saw two things emerge, right? You saw those who saw it as, holy crap, right? This is a challenge. It's handcuffing me from having those side conversations. And there are those, and I think it's what we're always trying to do as coaches, is to get them to see that as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And in fact, now we've been forced to operate in that. And those who said, well, how can I use this medium in new ways and in creative ways? You now come out with a larger toolbox of things that you can use. And let me just give you an example. I think that actually moving into that world has helped quite a few of the clients I've had who maybe were more introverted or didn't have kind of the presence and weren't the loud ones. And so suddenly, we're here in our Zoom world. I can much more control the environment of how I'm showing up with you, Peter, right? Because of the lighting, et cetera. I might even have something on my screen, right? I'll post it up there that's framing exactly how I want to say things, which I can't do if I'm in person. And if we know that like presence and how you show up matters, this actually works to the favor of certain people who might be overlooked in organizations. And it also allows kind of spanning kind of boundaries, right? Because we're not having all those meetings around the water cooler. So there seems to be this allowance for just sometimes reaching out to people.
Yeah. So I think therefore one would need to be more deliberate and intentional, meaning, hey, if the culture at my organization or the rules or the whatever is we go into the office either at set times of, I'm a Tuesday, Thursday guy, you're a Monday, Wednesday guy, whatever, or at my discretion on an as-need basis. If you can do 80% of your work from home, great, whatever. But I think what we need to do is be more deliberate and thoughtful of, okay, if I'm going to make the trek into the office, whether that's a block from my home or 2 hours, I shouldn't be doing the things in the office that I could easily be done at home. If that's the only time once a month where Michael and I are in the same building, I need to find a reason for you and I to sit down and have a cup of coffee, right? And I think this sense of agendalessness, if that's a thing, has been evaporated because every Zoom meeting, even when we had face-to-face meetings all the time, you get to the meeting room 5 minutes before, hey, Mike, how was your weekend? Oh, yeah, played golf, whatever. That stuff, or you know what, I need to grab you for 2 minutes after this thing to talk about the Kelly file or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're so agended and we can't veer from it because we can't do this side chatter in a meeting of 12 people. So I think you have to be more intentional and understand where that power play is.
Yeah, and I think that's the name of the game. And, regardless, and then this forced us, right? I'm a big fan of, did a lot of work in innovation, that constraints actually get us to think creatively about how we do certain things. And absolutely being intentional, right? If choose the days that you go in, right? So you are in conversation with people or you can make certain things happen. And, you have to start creatively think about, right? We all know about the meeting before the meeting. We all know about the things that influence. And I think that is part of your job to be doing those things. Because that's going to make you more efficient, right? I mean, a lot is not getting done in organizations. We're in many meetings that make, no sense because it's just, filling up time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the more strategic and intentional we get, the better.
So I want to move now. So I love that because it's so topical and so timely and so many people are struggling with that. Talking about your business model. So you made it clear, coach, right?
Yeah.
So what opportunities have opened up for you and what's been different in terms of the way you practice, the way you charge for your services, the way you find clients? Like what's the same and what's different?
What's same and different because of COVID or because of?
Yeah, just the last couple of years, right? So this isn't like, oh, it was a snow day and we had a long weekend and then we just automatically go back. Everyone, I think, has gone through, whether voluntary or involuntary or reactive or proactive, business transformation.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess as a coach, which is a fairly standard business model, you have clients, you serve your clients, you do things, whatever. What's the same and what's different? Or to what degree have things changed? Maybe a better way to say it.
Yeah. So I would say, I serve clients all over the world and I have primarily at the beginning done remote coaching. I was doing video 6 years ago as the primary mechanism. And, so one of the things when COVID kind of hit, more of the industry moved in that area. So it kind of forced me to continue to up my game in terms of things that I could offer to clients. But I would say that whenever there's that crisis, it creates this need and people were frustrated.
Yeah. Scared.
How to get things done. And so we're looking for answers. So kind of being able to tap and coach people around that. Sure. It's also brought in this area of how can I serve more clients, the idea of kind of scalability, which is part of the reason why I wrote the book. So to get kind of that message out there and, I've started doing in certain settings, group coaching, enabling that, but also, and I think this is the part I started very much direct with clients and they would come to me. So I wasn't working necessarily through the organizations. And
Wait, let me just unpack, meaning that the clients were personally engaging you to solve whatever struggles they had. And now it's the organization paying the bill. So does that change the responsibility, the context, what does that change in terms of the dynamic or the outcomes?
Yeah, so it creates more complexity of a kind of who you're reporting into, right? The company's paying the bill, the client. So ultimately, is there alignment around what the goals are? But also as a coach, how do you kind of manage that dynamic?
But imagine you have to set those expectations up front. Like, listen, these are my rules as a coach.
Absolutely.
Even though you're paying the bills, these are this is where the line is between what happened and, what happens in a session is sacred and all that other stuff.
Exactly. Especially when a lot of them want report outs. They want to know, how has this worked? But a lot of them, and I think this is the other piece, we can call it COVID, which also coincided with a lot of things kind of societally that shifted.
Sure.
So this is the other kind of big shift that's affected my business, is that there is this recognition that we want to get larger, diverse group of people to the top. And we know that women, minorities, let's talk in the U.S. context, I'll just use those words for simplicity. We want to see more of those leaders. And so organizations have taken upon themselves is, hey, we see these leaders and they may need to make some adjustments, right, of how they, navigate power, because they're traditionally having less power.
Yep.
And so that's another area that has come to me where the company will engage and say, we'd like you to work with this individual. They have huge potential. There may be one or two things that they need to adjust to that will take them into the upper levels that we want to see from them. How they show up, how they're kind of leading.
So this is a population that might not have gotten access to coaching and these types of services before, because there's a greater level of awareness from a talent development, talent pipeline. Like, if we want leaders, you can't just wake up on a Monday and say, okay, voila, you're a leader, if I haven't been preparing you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been huge. So a lot of companies have come with that agenda. There is this trickiness navigating too, because I will say some organizations and some leaders, we know this, they want to see individuals look like them, right? Whether that's good or
whether
bad,
they say it or not. Yeah.
And so you have to kind of navigate, right? What is the expectation of what leadership looks like here? Are you willing to accept that there's different models of leadership? So some of this there's some coaching that goes on, right, of that executive who's the sponsor as well. So there's some pieces that you have to navigate. And
I just want to clarify, and when you say looks like, you're not talking about it from a diversity perspective, it more meaning behaves like.
Exactly. Okay. So if we want to just take this to an extreme, right, all of my reports need to look decisive and show up. And so they may see that in a very
confident,
charismatic way. Right. And so we know confidence is important. You need to show that. There may be nuances around that. And also part of that is getting the executive being coached to flex. Part of that may be getting the executive who's the sponsor to flex in terms of what they may see the range of what does confidence look like.
Got it. Right. So here's a different way that confidence manifests. It might not be the way that you're familiar with, but here's how that works. Cool.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts. So I want to touch on, you mentioned the book, right? So share with us your experience of deciding to write the book, writing the book, and now we're on the other side of that journey. The book's been out there, and what expectations have been met, and what might you have done differently or coached others to do that are in some phase of that journey.
Yeah. I strongly believe that we wear two hats as coaches, right? There's the practice of coaching, and then there's the business of coaching. And I think if we are running a business, and that is what I'm doing, you need to be frank about there's the two parts there of what you're delivering and then the whole business side of it. And
so the business side being the branding, the marketing, the positioning, the pricing, all the stuff that most coaches get into the business to do the work, but they don't understand well enough how to get the work in so they have the privilege of doing the work that you want to do. Right.
Yeah. So if you're a great coach and you're not serving anyone, or you're not serving people, who have impact or so forth, I don't believe you're also serving. Right?
No, right.
Clients. And so the book spans both of those sides. One of them is the piece of it of helping me, my way of processing the world as I write. I share that out there, is to break down kind of the process and to put that out there that I help people who are frustrated, who hit glass ceilings, kind of work through very difficult, internal things of how do I feel about power, and kind of move that and use and leverage it to help them, their causes, et cetera, whether that's getting promoted, making an impact. So the book was both the process of helping me put out there.
So it's a forcing mechanism to get you to codify the stuff that you might not have documented that's been rattling around in your head in a clear and concise way.
So it's a clear process of codifying it. And for me, it's also, I'm not an academic. I am a coach who leverages academic research, is to then put that also in the words that resonate with people, that speak to people, my clients. And so
when people look at the book prior to reaching out to you or hiring you, they're also getting a sense of what to expect, right? Yeah. Your style, your tone. The process is the process, right? So that's clearly documented. It's not going to be a surprise. This is what you're going to take them through, but the voice, the style, and they can go, that seems like it's for me, or not interested. And either are okay.
So it's the process. It's also my philosophy, right? This is my area. And I like to tell them, if you read my book and you throw up about power and how my views on it and how I work with people, then you're not a good fit for me. Right. You're not the fit for me. And so it is a mechanism, if we now shift more, frankly, and Liz, I know you're, in this area as well, that we talk about this on the business side, which is to say it creates branding and puts myself out there as, here's my philosophy, here's what I do. And it is a mechanism by which people get to know me. They kind of self-select in terms of this resonates with me. And it brings me clients as well, who I would otherwise, not always be able to serve. And quite a few of them may read it now, get pieces out of it, but they're, on their journey. And so it lodges with them, right? This is the guy who had a very particular message. He felt most of the leadership literature is wrong, is misguided. And he has this view on power. There are pieces here that absolutely resonated. And, there's a trigger moment 3 years down the road. And I've had this happen. The book is we're still in the infancy of it. But they come to me. Yeah.
Excellent. So last question with regards to the book from a ROI standpoint. A lot of folks go into the book and if the only benefit you got out of the book is codifying it, I would argue that's probably enough of a benefit, right? Mm-hmm. But now you're looking at it from you talk about the business side of coaching. Have you been able to quantify, like, as a result of spending X dollars, X amount of my time, here's the investment I made, 6 months of my time and X dollars and whatever, and directly attributable to that are I've brought on X new clients that represent Y dollars and can see that pattern continuing over the next 5 to 7 years? Or have you gotten to that sort of ROI metric yet?
Yes. I'm not going to share numbers here.
No. I'm not saying.
I'm very clear about that was one of the primary goals in the book. There is the part around helping people and getting the message out there. But, you can do the math, right? In terms of your time and the amount to put this together, how many incremental clients who wouldn't otherwise come are coming to me. That has happened right away. And so, the question too, and the way I designed the book is, it's evergreen. This is a problem that is not going to go away, Peter, right? This is, and so I view marketing as kind of the long term here. The book launch is not a month. This is a 3-year process. And so that message being out there, that more people hearing it, builds, your brand in the market and brings clients back. So I can see, right, how many books are moving a day, people who come into my site. Those are certain metrics I look at. And then obviously the ideal one is where people who are they always exclusively coming because of the book? We can never totally measure that, but I'd say we have some precision on that, right? Because I know they picked it up, they downloaded it,
Right. They're touching it and you can see what geographies and all that.
Exactly.
Cool. So any last words of wisdom?
Well, I think the area that you're in around thought leadership is one that more coaches, if they want to make an impact, they need to be thinking about. And to me, it's that you got to wear the two sides, right? The practice of your coaching and then the business side of it. If you're, view this as running a business, not a side hobby or an element of whatever.
Yeah.
And I can quantify this too in my area, Peter, right? In terms of what are my clients gain? When they get promoted, certainly that's a very easily measurable economic impact.
Of course. Right.
So we can look at that too.
Interesting. Well, great stuff. I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing your journey with us. Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.